It's not really meant to be relied on. It's a tool. That's how everyone's saying to look at AI, as a tool. And it's not something to be scared of. And I'm going to show you today why it's not something to be scared of. So like I said, many of us have 10 jobs now. We're tracking 10 different markets or more. How can you stay local? Because at the end of the day, we're still supposed to sound local, even though we haven't even been to some of these markets. And this is the direction the industry is going, where you have one local person per station, then multiple people from out of market. It's probably not changing like that. AI is not going away, so let's use it to make our shows better, since we're still going to be in the business. There's a lot of naysayers with AI where they're very much like, oh, it's just going to, using it's lazy. It's not lazy. It's working smarter. If the tools are there, when they first invented the power drill, where carpenters like, oh, I'm not using that. Real screwdriver does the trick. No, they switched to the power drill because it made more sense. That's where it was going. They could get the job done in half the time. That's how you have to look at AI when it comes to radio. I don't think that I have no crystal ball, but I don't think that this would actually replace people, because people are still the element. No matter what AI can generate, you still have to have somebody to deliver this. That's the connection that radio brings. That's the connection that television brings. You have to have an actual person. I don't think people would respond too well to a full jock that they know is not a real person. I think that would literally, they'd be like, I'm not falling for this at all. Even Bob Pittman said something about that. The second you try to pretend that this person's real, you lose the trust of the audience. So I don't think we need to worry about that. So that's one of the things about, will ChatGPT take your job? Like I said, it's used as a tool to enhance, not replace. It gets you, I always say, 70 to 80% there. I use it every day. I use it in my show prep. I use it when I'm writing imaging. If anything, it gets you started. I'm more of a tech guy. I don't know how many others on this call are more tech people. So I'm not the guy that comes up with the crazy names or the crazy contests or the crazy wacky things. I'm more of, I'll get it executed. I'll get it done. ChatGPT can help you in that aspect, because if you're like, oh, I need help writing this promo, but I'm writer's block. You just type in what you think you want it to do, and it'll spit something out for you that you're like, okay, I could use that or tweak that a little bit or make it work. So that is basically ChatGPT. If you don't have ChatGPT yet, you can check it out. It's totally free. Go to openai.com. You have to create an account, but there's no issues. Everybody's using it. And like I said, it is free. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Hey, Dan, do you have to be careful when you sign up for ChatGPT that it's the legit one?
Yeah, there's a few others, but I would always say you should sign up with the openai.com one. You go to openai.com, and then there's a thing that says try ChatGPT. So this is the ChatGPT screen. It defaults, there's two versions. One's free, one is $20 a month. And the free version is 3.5. This is what your screen will look like after you create an account. GPT-4, it's basically, you can do like images in there and all this other stuff, but you're limited to 40 messages every 3 hours. So this one you can use for everything. So I recommend just starting with 3.5. The difference is they're just personality. Every version is better. So 4.0 has a little more realistic personality, whereas 3.5 is, like talking to a 21-year-old. 4.0 is probably like talking to a 33-year-old. So you get a little bit of different responses and things like that. But we'll start with 3.5. So really, if you haven't used ChatGPT before, you just type in here exactly what you want it to do. So in this case, and part of the deal with ChatGPT is that, like I mentioned at the beginning of the call, is that we want to sound more local with our radio stations that we are recording remotely. That can be hard to do, especially in a quick amount of time. But with this, I'm going to show you how ChatGPT can basically take articles and different things of show prep you find and strip out any of the extra stuff that you don't need, so you can see right away, this is what I need to talk about. This is the meat of story. This is what I need to focus on. So what we'll do, we'll just type in, I'm trying to prep for my radio show. If I send you some content, will you help me? And then it replies, of course, feel free to send over the stuff. So then before you send it over, you want to tell it what you want it to do. Any story I send you, please highlight the main 3 points of the story in just highlight 3 points of the story. All right, so now let's find a story. Here's one. Lot owner stunned to find $500 home accidentally bulldozed on her lot. Now she's being sued. That is a kick in the ass. So we'll go ahead and you can just go to the site and just Control A, copy, and then you just paste the whole site, all that stuff, even all the links at the bottom. It ignores all of that for you. You click respond, it goes through it. Boom. Those are the 3 main points of the story. So now you don't have to read through that entire story that may just be clickbait, may just have stuff that doesn't really matter. This tells you the 3 main points of the story. That way you can look at this and then say, okay, this is what I need to do. This is what it was mainly about. And then you can kind of come up with your own spin on it. I would not recommend reading this verbatim. Couple reasons. It's a computer. Another reason is we're all pros, so we all know how to take this information and disseminate it to our audiences. But it's also just not perfect. For example, if you tell it, can you rewrite this story as an on-air break? And remember, be as specific as possible. On-air break, conversational, like you're talking to a friend at the water cooler.
Air and add air to on-air.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. All right, so let's see what it says. Hey there, folks. Dan Hardee here with some wild news straight from Hawaii. That's why you can't read it verbatim, because it doesn't speak like us. It will do the typical like if you ask somebody to pretend to be a DJ with this story, this is what that person would sound like. So it's okay. I mean, it's not amazing. This could air in overnights just fine, but like obviously you'd want to strip this down. So but it can get you started, and you can experiment. That's the biggest thing. You got to experiment with this to see what it can do. If you tell it instead, can you make that 3 sentences and to the point? Let's see what it says. Hey there, it's Dan Hardee with some jaw-dropping news from Hawaii. Imagine buying land for your dream retreat only to find a $500,000 house built in it by mistake. That's the meat of the story right there. So that could, if you took that and rearranged that and came up with a punchline, that could work as a talkover break going into music. Punchlines, this right now, ChatGPT does not have punchlines. If we ask it to, can you add a punchline? Which obviously the punchline is supposed to be your personality. So you wouldn't really want the computer coming up with that. Otherwise, you're basically Ron Burgundy just reading the script. So you still have to put your own thing on it. Plus, one thing to remember, this doesn't write like you speak. Each of us have a particular way of speaking, just our style. And if you try to read stuff like this, people are going to know. They're like, that's not something that person would say or how they would say it. So now let's say, can you add a punchline to this? Talk about a real estate twist nobody saw coming. Whoa! That's a Colorado Broadcasting Award winner break right there. So that's basically why you can't just focus on it being verbatim. It's really meant as a tool to help your show prep, help you gather show prep more quickly. Because once you can, the more you can pull out exactly what the story is, the more stories you can go through. And it works well. So some of you who know me, you know that I know nothing about sports. I don't care. I've never been into it. It's just a thing. But obviously, Broncos, big deal in Denver. But the Bills are a big deal in Rochester, where I'm on there in the afternoon. So I need to sound like I know what I'm talking about. So what you can do, and this is where it can help you, if you struggle on a certain subject, you can even say, I'm going to send you a story about the Broncos. I know nothing about the Broncos, but need you to make it sound like I do. Like you could even say that, and it's like, okay, go ahead and send me the story about the Broncos. So let's find something about the Broncos. All right, here's something about Sean Payton and the Broncos are turning up the heat to evaluate quarterback prospects. So let me send the story. Just copied it, paste. There you go. All right, let's dive into some Broncos territory. So, Sean Payton, by the way, picture this. This is the crutch of OpenAI. Everything it says is picture this, imagine this. Watch for that. It does it every time, even if you tell it not to. If you ask it to help you write an endorsement, picture this. Imagine this. That's its crutch. But Sean Payton, man with the plan. Obviously, you wouldn't say that. You probably don't need to say that unless you're one of those jocks that likes to rhyme things all the time. Turning out the heat big time, picking the perfect quarterback. So he's got these rookies. They're sweating bullets, serious homework, intense meetings, making them squirm under the pressure. This is all stuff that you could, a sports fan would probably not be able to tell from that break that you don't really know what you're talking about. So it makes you sound more local. It makes you sound more in touch. You can be like, oh, wow, I had no idea Dan was interested in, this stuff. It's going to make that connection, especially if you're in a big sports town. Obviously, if you're in a small market, it's a little different, but in a sports town, that's what you can do. You can also tell it things like, I know there's a lot of surveys out there. 73% of people do this first thing in the morning. Those are obviously those are pretty cliche. I mean, they work, but you have to word them a certain way. So I know like you'll see in show prep, like this works really well for rewriting show prep. That's the thing is it takes all the cliches out. It takes all the stuff and you can be like, okay, how can I put this in my own words? You can say things like take out, let me find this one. So like, let's say you're going to a study sites, survey site, studyfinds.org is one. Natural leaf for gas. No, I don't know if we need to do that one. So basically you can, I can't find one with the percentages. Anyways, the ones with percentages, you can tell it, rewrite this story without using exact values. So instead of it saying, well, it turns out 73% of people did this and 71%, you're not just rattling off all these numbers. It will strip the exact values for you. So it sounds a little more natural, like you would be telling a friend at the water cooler. And that's kind of the key. If you're really, again, I would not read this verbatim. You don't want to be Ron Burgundy on this. You're going to sound robotic on the air. But if you tell it, tell me this story as a friend telling another friend at the water cooler. And sometimes it'll be, but like there was one story. Let me see if I can find it over here. So basically, here's one. So you post this event. Judy Collins was in Rochester. This was a whole page thing. You can really just go with the title. I'm like, okay, well, it's local. It's Rochester. It's something that happened. And it tells you exactly what it was. That way you just know the meat of the story. Like Judy Collins, guest speaker, Lifespan Annual Celebration of Aging event. If you were there, it was an awesome, awesome performance. Judy Collins, 84 years old. Can you believe that? Over 100 shows a year still. That's your break. It just pulls out the meat for you.
But Dan, it won't find that article for you. You have to send it.
If you say summarize and then you post a link, it will usually kick it back because a lot of these news sites have figured out that they don't want this thing to scan their sites because they want you to go to their sites because then they get their clicks. So it'll usually fail if you try that. You could try it on some that say summarize, but it may say the site you entered has something that's preventing us from indexing the site. So then you have to just go and copy the site. But you can literally just go, click Control A, copy, and then paste it in this window, and you're good to go.
Pretty much. Jessica has a question, Dan.
Yeah.
If we don't put an article in there, let's just say I want to know about the LA Dodgers or whatever. How do we know that it's actually giving us accurate information?
That's the challenge with not giving it the info up front. It does have the ability, I believe, it can find other sources. I know the original one ended in September 21. So anything that occurred after September 21 wasn't in there. But I think that's changed where it now can go out and find that. That I would not rely on just yet because that's the other thing that you do have to be a little cautious of. You can't just blindly follow this thing because this thing does make mistakes. It will put the just wrong basic syntax and things. It may put wrong facts in there, or it may think that one part of the story is talking about one thing, but it's actually not. So that's what you got to do. You got to use this a little cautiously. Like you have to have a general idea of what it's about. This just helps you trim it up a little bit more. And then you basically just copy from this, you paste it in your show prep sheet, and then you just go down the list and just fill out all of your prep. And then you can just go on the air and start recording and just, bust out your shows pretty quickly with that. Let me see. Can you access current events? I don't know. Okay, so this says it goes up until January 22. So let's try this. Why are the Broncos so bad? Let's see what it says. Oh, okay. So it can only go to 22. Let me see if 4.0 can go. Why are the Broncos so bad? Okay, so 4 I think can go a little more, but look at this. I mean, it's laying out why the Broncos are bad. So if anything, and I mean most of that is pretty, I mean it's basic stuff. But I think 4.0 can access current events. So if you're curious as to why something's not working, one cool thing with ChatGPT I've found is explain such and such subject to a child. Because you don't think about that. You're like, okay, well, how do you explain, some those of you who have kids probably know, but it's like, how do you explain a car accident to a child and why it's bad? You type it in here and it'll explain to you in child's terms what that is. So you can even adjust it to customize for your audience. If you say, I want you to write this more like, find me the points that would interest a man, a 48-year-old man or 48-year-old woman who's a suburb or whatever. You can tell it, like the options are endless of what you tell it, but you have to craft it with that. Erin, question.
Hi. Okay. So just to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying. So for instance, the article that you put in earlier about, explain this to me is so that people think I'm a sports fan, or the article about the $1 million property. Were those current things or recent things, but because you fed it to it, it could put it back to you? But you're saying if you just straight up asked it about something that happened yesterday, it wouldn't be able to tell you without giving it an article? Did I understand that right?
Yeah, no, yes. So the 3.5 version, yes, it's not connected to the internet. It is January 22. That's it. That's where all of its knowledge stops. 4.0, I believe, is current. Let's try it. Can you tell me
about the Maryland Bridge? See what it
Yeah,
says.
that's what I was thinking. Let's see if it's Oop. Okay. So it does. Yeah, there you go. So it does. The 4.0 does have access to current events. So that's 3.5 must just, again, 4.0 is the one you got to pay for. It's $20 a month. I think it's great. Plus you also get the image generation where you can tell it, hey, I need you to make me a logo or make me a graphic that's royalty free. It'll do that for you. So it's $20 a month. I think it's great. One thing to keep in mind too. So anytime you're using ChatGPT, it saves everything over here. So you can go back to different things. When you click off or create a new one, it forgets everything you told it on the last thing. So that's why you can save on some area. Like you can go back and be like, oh, okay, I was doing this. Or if you just want to create a new one, then you have to tell it everything all over again, what you want. Which if you save like kind of a template, like, I do, there's things called custom instructions. And you can tell it kind of what to remember every time whenever you open these. So like mine, if I ever ask you to help me write a radio commercial script, the copy must be in conversational first person as if the announcer is speaking to a singular person. Because remember, this thing's dumb. So you have to tell it what you want. Very conversational, but with urgency. The script will be read as an endorsement by the announcer. The announcer's name is Dan Hardee. Script should target adults 25-54. If I ask you to write a 30-second script, that translates to 8 lines. So if you can lay out exactly what you want. Don't ever write a script unless I provide you with the copy points first, or else we'll just start writing like random stuff. So always ask me if there's a mandatory disclaimer that needs to appear at the end. That by itself can save you a ton of time writing endorsement scripts. And then you just feed it the copy points. Then you say, after you read the script, and again, it's not perfect. You have to, make some edits, but it's better than just sitting there busting all that out. And that's pretty much it. It's not groundbreaking stuff. It can just help you basically show prep a little easier. It may shave some minutes off. It may make it so that instead of using one generic story across 10 stations, you can find 10 local stories and share them across all 10 stations. Just go to those station sites. One of my things I learned in Rochester, and the cool thing about Rochester is that that's it. That you do a little different show there than you would in a big city, like a really big city. So they want to hear more about Rochester. So I go to the Rochester. You just bookmark all the news sites for that city, and then you just go to each one. You find a story, boom, you plug it into ChatGPT. There you go. Boom, you find another story, plug it in. Things like roads closing, just things that people like hearing about the local stuff on the radio. So that way, if you make a bit bookmark, that's your kind of, your war list of everywhere you're going to go every day, just go through each site. That's going to make a difference with your voice tracking, especially in other markets, because people are going to be like, wow, I know this person doesn't live here, but they sound like they live here. It's just because that's where the industry is going. It's one of those things where it's like, you can replace or be replaced. I'd rather be the one that, gets to keep working and put all this out for everybody to work for. So
Nick Steele has a question.
Yeah, Nick.
Not so much a question, Dan. I just wanted to say, like, even though you said it's basic, like you honestly just blew my mind. I had no idea that it could do that. Like, I've worked with ChatGPT, but I never like talked to it like a person. And so I didn't know that you could just, hey, could you sum this up for me? I've never had an assistant. It makes me feel like I have an assistant. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really is. It's a really good tool. That's the best way to look at it. You don't want to rely on it too much. You don't want to read it verbatim, but it can get you most of the way there, especially when you're struggling over something to talk about. Like, any kind of story. The biggest thing is you have to have a plan of, and I think all of you know this being pros, you got to have a full list of prep sites you go to. But with this, you can kind of do your own, prep service and just go through and just be like, okay, found this, boom, found this, boom, found this. Some days I don't even use the prep services because I'm like, I found enough stories just going down my list of, news sites. I'm like, oh, okay, make this interesting. And you can even tell it if you're, one of the hardest things sometimes is coming up with the perfect tease. That's an art. The first sentence obviously wants to capture the listener's attention. So if you're really struggling with it, you can ask it, hey, take this story, write it with a very catchy hook at the beginning. A lot of times it's like, hey, have you ever been driving on a bridge and it collapsed? Sometimes it's like that, but sometimes it's actually like, oh, okay, that would hook someone. You'll get a little further with that. So it's a good point, Nick. It really is an assistant. It's kind of, if you're stuck thinking about something, it can help you fill in the blanks. If anything, it can help you be better with your word economy. If you're somebody who does 2.5 minute breaks and you could probably shave that down by 30 seconds, this can help you with that. This can tell you what's the meat of this. What are the extraneous words that don't need to be in there? Things like that. So it basically just polishes you up to be a better jock, and makes it so you can work faster, more efficiently. And, we're just going to keep getting more work. That's kind of how this industry is. And so I would rather just work smarter, and not, you could turn a 10-hour day into 7-8 hour day instead, but with some of this stuff, and you'll sound better at the same time. So it's a win-win.
Do you have any recommendations on like the video or like a imaging part? You said the ChatGPT, the paid one, can do images. Is it do it like you see, or what's a good one for that?
Yeah, so I like DALL-E. It's the ChatGPT 4.0 one. So when you get ChatGPT 4.0 for the $20 a month, it comes with DALL-E. I think it's DALL-E or DALL-E. And it's okay. It's the challenge with DALL-E is that it can't really do text that well. And I read something, it's very technical, but it can create things, but it can't, it makes it hard to make logos and stuff. Sometimes it gets it right. Sometimes the letters are like completely garbled. And it's like, I did a great job. I don't know what you're talking about. And you're like, okay, well, there you go.
Can you give it images to work with, or do you just, or does it generate all
I think you can upload stuff and say, make something like this, but can you draw a picture of a cat DJ in a radio studio eating tuna? Let's see what this brilliance comes out with. So then processes it. It does have a filter thing. So if you ask it to like draw a picture of a kid driving a Power Wheels off a bridge, it's not going to let you do that.
That was the first thing I was going to ask it to do.
I know. I actually thought that'd be a pretty funny picture. I even said gleefully, and I even told it, I was like, well, the kid's happy. He's a superhero. He can fly. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to do that. There you go. There.
Oh, wow.
There's a cat eating tuna in the radio studio.
What? The cat engineers will be very upset with them.
I've tried to use some image generators before, and they haven't been that good.
Yeah, so this one's pretty good, but if you say like now add the title of DJ Pause to the top, it can't watch it. It'll work well with mine, but Dolly's pretty good for that. There's a bunch of different ones. Bing has one. I know that Pixlr has their own thing built in. I'm not a really big fan of that one, but I think ChatGPT and DALL-E, both OpenAI products, I think they're kind of they're like the Apple iPhone of the AI world. Like they're just kind of, everyone uses it. It's kind of an all-in-one. It's very easy. Like you can see, this is the prompt. You don't really need to know any coding or any of that stuff. So yeah, see the TZ, that's not pause. So it'll mess stuff like that up. But, you know, I mean, it's something. And you can have a lot. I mean, this will take you down a whole other rabbit hole because you'll start putting stuff together. But, and all of these, I believe all the images it creates are royalty free. Anyone correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that you can use those on anything. So even if you need just a cool background, like for my, you know, can you make a Facebook? Oh yeah, totally. The image part is definitely worth $20 a month or more. Can you make a Facebook cover photo of a radio tower site?
What?
And let's see what it comes up with. So this is like I said, this is just it's a tool just to work easier. You know, instead of you bothering the graphics design person at your station, you could literally just have this make something like a background, and then you could add like some text on it, and then you've got your own graphic.
If I go in later and ask the same question, you know, to draw this cat DJ, is it going to come up with something completely different?
It might, because I think it's just the algorithm of what it does. Here's the cover photo it made of radio towers, so that's what it thinks I meant by that. So.
Interesting. The size thing, though, is an interesting concept.
It's something.
The Facebook cover size.
AI heard what he was doing, and he's taking him down.
AI, can you fix Dan's connection?
Oh, am I? Was I breaking up?
Yeah, but
they're probably doing it up. I'm going through like a VPN and all this other crap right now. So, yeah, Johnny, it will not remember that. So it will. Yeah, it'll basically start over, make something new. Like I said, it gets you most of the way there. I'm trying to see. I've done a couple different image things. I mean, you can play around with it, and you can explore GPTs too. These are other little chat things like, you know, maps, all that. And all these are like plugins that you could just plug it in here and use it. So it's pretty, I mean, $20 a month, it's pretty amazing. And if you can get the current events, you know, that's another thing too.
And by the way, if you guys haven't done AI headshots, holy cow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Go to Insta Headshots.
You need to put yours up. I want to see yours.
They are, dude, they almost look too good. But, crazy. You know, it still looks like me, just a brighter, hotter version of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I
didn't know we could do that. That's crazy.
I could not find, well, I haven't had professional headshots in 10 years. And so I went to Insta Headshots, and it said, you know, it gives you the instructions. You know, you upload like a dozen photos, and I took 6 or 7 garbage selfies. They weren't even that good. But then I did take 4 of those older professional shots and uploaded those 2. And it crushed it. I mean, absolutely crushed it.
That's cool.
Oh, it's amazing.
The link's in the chat right now.
$60, I recommend it.
Nina
has a question.
Okay, my mind is going crazy right now with all of this, especially the image stuff. Mm-hmm. So if, let's say the cat DJ, you love the cat DJ, you are DJ Pause. Is there a way to grab the figure of that specific cat DJ? And can you use that in other images to, like, the cat DJ Pause is at a happy hour down the street on a Saturday night? Like, can you use that same character over? Is there a way to save the image that you have created?
I'm not sure. I don't know if you keep, because like look here, they're two different cats. So I don't think so. I think it like let's try and see what it says. Can you draw?
Yeah, can you feed the picture back to it and say like, can you make this cat do something else?
Yeah, let's see that real quick. Let's see just what it says here.
Or you just have to bring it into Photoshop and
Yeah.
That's when you go get your graphics design person. Here's what our cat looks like.
Just so you know, this kind of kicked my butt when I first got it. This saves as a WebP file. So you that's not like a JPEG or anything. So you have to open that up. I know Photoshop opens it, Pixlr opens it. But it's a weird, it's not like a JPEG or a PNG file, but it's not, it's so this is what it came up with drawing DJ Paws down the street. So let's try it with that. Yeah, let's try it with that.
Okay, a little bit of a different cat.
I bet it could do something, whether it's this one or not, but kind of like Nick said, where you feed it. And I wonder if it can recognize the cat in it and put it somewhere else.
Yeah.
This is so cool.
All right, let's try, see if it can do that. Oh, I don't know where DJ Paws went. Maybe you can't. Hang on. Oh, I think it's in documents actually. And then you tell it, can you make this cat a performer on stage? Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, and the fact that I feel like a lot of people don't know about this, especially in radio, because this blows your mind. Like when you see what it can do and how it can make it makes us still look more creative, but we can do it quicker now. So that's what's you can make multiple station things at once.
And a lot of people don't have a graphic designer at their station,
Yeah. So like that, I don't know if that's really, the same.
Oh yeah, it didn't quite work. Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, that's a good one on Fiverr too. That, like we said, if you don't have a graphic design person, they can take that cat and do something for you.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Marie. I was going to say that's when you go to Fiverr. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I mean, to echo Nina in the chat, I have yet to ever touch this or even look at it, and you have made it so approachable. And just, you are such a good teacher. And now I feel like I could go teach this to someone else. So
nice.
You're the best. Thank you so much, Dan and Marie. Again, everyone's advocate, just freaking rock stars, all of you.
Thank you.
It's great to hear. Thank you. Danny, question.
I'll just say that so another way to think about it too, that we use it on our show. Obviously we do mornings, and we'll use it to like have us write different things, but a lot of times we'll just do a thing where we're like, ask AI, and we'll give it a name every day, and it's something stupid like ask AI but today, and then we'll ask it different things and just have it read, or we'll have it like make song lyrics for us, and we'll read it as a bit on our show. And it's kind of, we're trying to turn it into something where it's like a reoccurring bit, as opposed to just doing like, I love the application of using it for like a prep service, but I also think like try to open your mind and keep using it for parts of your show and making fun of AI, because it's such a hot topic right now. Your listeners are going to want to hear about it as well.
Yeah. And even if you're like the punchlines, like, because the punchlines are terrible sometimes, you could be like, what's the worst AI punchline, and just see what it comes up with for certain things happening. That's a good example. You can also do it for song lyrics. So if you tell it, can you rewrite the lyrics for Hall & Oates' Private Eyes and make it about a particular person, it'll go through and it'll do that for you. Like it's pretty cool. Really just get in there and talk to it like a toddler. What would you tell it exactly what you want it to do, and it'll do it for you, and then just keep feeding it more prompts, and it'll work great. I even use it to write some imaging where if you have this thing, we do these things with alliterations where it's like from Arvada to Aurora, or from Broomfield to Brighton. You can tell it those things, and then it'll write you like 30 more that rhyme with each city and all that other stuff. So, which you could figure out on your own. It may take you an hour, but it'll just spit all that stuff out. Then you're like, perfect. So now I can write imaging so fast. And again, you make sure it's tailored for your deal, because it's most of the time it needs a little help. But it can just get you started. It's like an idea starter assistant. That's what I really use it for.
This has been
Anyone
amazing. Marie and Dan, thank you guys so much for this. Like Aaron said, I haven't touched this and it's just been intimidating to me. And I didn't want to feel like an idiot talking to AI or learning how to use AI. And this has been so eye-opening and so helpful.
That's great. Good to hear.
So we'll keep doing
Well, I think
these.
you guys all, yeah. You guys all have my email. If you have any questions, shoot me those. You want to share anything you found, text me, all that stuff. Would love to, would love to see this work better for you guys. And, you know, I think everyone on this call is the future of radio too. And I think we're in it for the long haul. So we're going to be doing a lot of work, but this will help you.
Thank you again, Dan, and we'll see y'all next time.
Yes.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
See you later.
See ya. Bye.